Excellent. Happy Friday, July 18th, everyone. Thank you for joining us for episode 13 of Virtually Incorrect, your weekly VR fix. I'm your host, Gunter, and tonight, unique sort of episode. I'm broadcasting from my new RV, a recreational vehicle. Bought it today, parked it at State Park. It's where I'm going to hopefully live in 6 months as I travel to California to be a part of everything out there. And I'm using my hotspot to make this all happen. It's working quite well. And it's crazy. I'm turning 33 at midnight, so it's just a big, a little bit of celebration for me. A lot of people came out, and I just got a lot of friends that I'm real happy to be with tonight. And at the end of the show, might be giving out some Steam codes. A Piece of Fruit donated a whole bunch of codes, and some of them work, some of them don't, but let's go ahead and play with those at the end. Hopefully we can hook up some people with some free games. And for those tuning in, heck yeah. And people tuning in for the first time, basically the show is done every week. I find 4 stimulating guests from the VR community to join us in discussion and speculation, and it's all done in virtual reality, so it's pretty sweet. Things are semi-serious, nothing's off limits, nothing's censored, and everybody's encouraged to speak their minds, and possibly the viewers at home might want to put their kids to bed. And I'm always looking for interesting guests. Please reach out to me, Gunter444 on Reddit, and I really would love to find an awesome editor to edit the show. That would be great. I've been doing the last one myself, and it's a lot of work, and I could definitely use some hands there. So if you're interested in editing or being part of the show, just reach out. And yeah, some thank yous to everybody, for my guest here, the audience, Riftmax crew. I really appreciate it. Couldn't do it without you guys. So tonight's a little bit different. We're kind of keeping things casual. I brought on a lot of folks that have been on the show before, a lot of my VR friends that I've met over the last year, and we're going to kind of talk about the last year, kind of a recap, how things have changed for us and whatnot. So around our table tonight, and 1 second while I recalibrate, blink, there I go. Around the table tonight, we have on my right, Jespionage. How's it going, Jesse?
Not too bad. Glad to be here.
Ooh, look at this hand. Got in my RV that using the Hydra just doesn't seem to work out. The base station and everything's a bit crazy, so I might look a little ridiculous. Maybe I'll put that hand away. And yeah, Jesse, you're over at VR Chat and, Snowdrift, and it's really great to have you back. You're a good friend. And then next to you, we've got Ruuubick. Ruuubick moderates a lot of the chats from Cymatic Brews to a lot of stuff here on Riftmax. He's just a great community member and a great friend. How's it going, Ruuubick?
I'm great, thank you.
And to my left is Bob, Cause and Effects, another great friend, big participant in the VR community and here at Riftmax, and has a VR news show coming soon here in Riftmax. So, Bob, how's it going?
Fantastic, thanks for having me.
Anytime. And finally, we have Olivier. Olivier is developer of Synthesis Universe, a really good friend. Met him in VR Chat, a good while ago, 5-6 months ago. And it's just fantastic to have you here, Olivier. How's it going?
Thank you. Yeah, doing great. Fighting for mosquitoes, the heat, and but I'm happy to be one of the stimulating guests tonight.
Exactly. And I'm no stranger to mosquitoes, being in South Florida. They're huge, and we just go ahead and let them suck the blood from us. So I want to bring up a couple stories, and then we'll kind of go into this recap and reflection. On the subreddit, we saw that Oculus DK2 shipping update. Of course, we are all tuning into that. It won't be till July 16th. Cyber Reality, community manager for Oculus, broke the silence on DK2. I said we've decided to hold off the initial shipment of the DK2s until the middle of next week so that we can have additional week to polish and QA.
The emails went out though, so that's awesome.
Yeah, we received them earlier.
Yep. I did not receive, well, I probably did, but I've been so busy doing my RV purchasing, I missed that, so I'm totally going to need you guys to catch me up with that. One of the comments, though, that Bizarro Brian said was the irony is that this kind of emotional threads that show show them that they need to be careful with the information they present and the way they present it. This isn't like the DK1 where people didn't know if they would ever receive the Rift, as it was completely new device. Oculus is clearly established now, and the DK2 is real, and basically you'll get it when it's ready. So I thought that was an interesting comment. Nate brought that up to my attention. So yeah, what do you guys think about that? And catch me up to speed, and we'll start with Bob.
So we're talking about the Oculus.
The DK new announcement, apparently something in the email today. I don't think I actually ordered it soon enough then. I don't think I got an email.
Yeah, I didn't get an email from them today. That's why I was a little confused.
I see.
I didn't get one either. I didn't order mine until March 27th, so I'm not in the first batch. So that's probably why I haven't seen anything from them yet today. And I did check my email recently.
Now, well, I ordered mine 3 hours after it was announced. Why don't I have an email? Jesse, got any clue?
But I did actually, I read something on Reddit. They're saying, and people were reporting that they were getting their emails. So I went there and I clicked on the button to allow me to check my order status. Maybe that's how I got my email. But when I did get the email, it said, I've got, the $50 deposit down and the balance outstanding. And my credit card company won't let them bill me until they actually ship it, but PayPal would, so I actually did put down the rest of the money today. So I've got the financing all taken care of, and I mean, it definitely seems to be progressing ahead, which is awesome news.
I'm glad you were able to work that out. That certainly, I'm sure, gave you a little bit of fear, like, something delaying it, yeah.
Yeah,
so,
they're not. I know now that they're not going to try my credit card and like have some weird wrong number error or wrong CVC number or whatever cause it to be delayed. That's all resolved now.
Right, and then the fear of like, oh, sorry, something messed up. We're just going to put you at the end of the queue now. No.
Yeah. That would suck.
What about you, Ruuubick?
Well, like BetaVR just mentioned it in the chat, people who paid with PayPal probably won't receive an email because they paid already in full for the DKT, but like me, payment in credit cards, we received an email basically to just make an update on our billing infos, and that's it. Just say they are prepared to ship the DKTs.
Maybe that's why I didn't get an email, because I paid.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of my birthday for real now, because I thought I had paid for this, and it's because I did. I usually use PayPal, but then hearing everybody else, I'm like, oh, I haven't actually paid for this? Oh, great, here's more money that's going to come out of my pocket this week that, of course, I don't track because I'm lazy. So it's really great that you guys are telling me this. It's fantastic. Olivier, did you get an email?
Yes, I got an email, but I ordered it quite fast, which was around 8:28, so 28 minutes after. So I should be in the first batch, probably with Ruuubick, because they are shipping, like everybody knows, with grouping. So
yeah.
All right, cool. And another story was that somebody was trying to resell the selling of his place in Oculus, the conference for like $5,000. That's extremely crazy. And the community asked for proof of order, and he gives it, and then Cyber Reality cancels the order. So that's interesting. What do you guys think of that, Bob? Yeah.
Well, I mean, it does state in their policies that we're not allowed to resell development kits, so they were well within their right to cancel his order.
And it seems like we had quite the same problem with a Chinese guy who posted on Reddit. He bought like 32 DK2 like for group shipment to avoid like taxes and shipment price, and all the DK2s got like cancelled, and his own DK2 command as well, and he just tried to talk to the Oculus support, but he just didn't respect the rule that was implied when he bought these for DK2, so yeah.
So yeah, what else do we think about somebody trying to sell their DK2 for $5,000? If it wasn't in the clause, what would you guys think of that? And if that was successful, would you want to sell yours for $5,000?
I need mine very much. I think that I don't like the fact that somebody would sell them for $5,000. I think this is a developer area, and I think that Oculus has the right idea for protecting this as a developer product. However, it's also exciting to me that that people would consider buying it for $5,000. That just does kind of demonstrate like a demand for the product, which I think is really awesome to hear as a developer.
Well, I don't think that there was any buyers lined up because there was a buy it now. I don't think anyone had bought it.
No, I don't imagine anyone would pay it yet. But I mean, the fact that there's a vibrant resale market, or there seems to be at some level, that is profitable to someone reselling, is promising.
Somebody might have bought it, I guess. I don't know. That'd be kind of crazy.
Yeah, even DK1, there's a big market for it right now. I'm really surprised.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, me too. I mean, I think of it like I don't want to get rid of mine because I want to have it forever. It's sort of this historic thing for me, and I wonder if other folks feel the same. Like, you know, they know DK2's coming, so why would they want to buy the DK1? It must be for having the first one, like having the first Apple computer.
Probably, but I'm wondering because I hear more and more people telling that their DK1 just died. So maybe there's an expiration date on DK1.
Yeah, if my second DK1 died, I would be in the resale market. I mean, probably. I mean, if I was any more than in the first batch of DK2s, I would be anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You can't actually buy from Oculus they aren't shipping any products at this moment. So there are companies out there that need to develop that are kind of just getting into VR, and they need to buy development kits. So that's part of the market too.
And I guess there's so many people who are pre-ordered DK2 without knowing anything that there's going to be a lot of DK2s on the like eBay or PayPal, Amazon, because people don't know how to use it or have problems with it. So I guess they resell it pretty fairly quick.
And there's more people buying the DK2 than the DK1. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well,
So
I thought they
those
sold
things will
something
increase.
like 60,000 DK1s, right? And they have like 40,000 DK2s.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
Yeah,
60,000 took almost a whole year to sell, and I think they got up to 40,000 in only a few months for the DK2.
Yeah.
And I bet a lot of DK1 owners went ahead and purchased the second one as well.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk a little bit about Oculus Connect and the cost of the ticket being $249. Jabazero makes an interesting comment in that article that says $250 is a fairly large chunk of money on top of travel and lodging expenses. So how much value does an indie developer stand to gain out of this conference or, any other? What do you guys think, Jesse?
I think an indie developer would get the most value out of it. I mean, it's not necessarily about the classes he goes to or stuff like that, but it's the people you meet that are the most valuable. It is the after party, and it's also like networking at the event and all that stuff. Like you can meet partners or people who you can co-market your product with, or people who have done something a little bit differently or maybe better even than you that you can learn from. There's lots of value. I think $250 is actually on the cheap side, that they must be going indie friendly with that price.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's pretty standard for that kind of cost in other, conferences. And for me, when I go to like DrupalCon and that sort of thing, it's all about the networking. I can go watch the videos again later. It's really the people.
For a price comparison, what was the price of SVVR, like the ticket entry?
SVR was $250, I think, but with a booth, it was a small table. It was $500. But for example, if I remember right, if you go to GDC, Game Developer Conference, it's close to $1,500.
Oh god.
Yeah, SVVR also, you needed a discount code or something like that to get down to $250. The default price was a little bit higher.
$1,500. Wow.
Yep.
Is that indie friendly?
Yeah, there was another price which was 1750. So, but you have conference and many stuff.
Yeah, they had different pricing structures depending upon how early you bought your ticket and
Sure.
what kinds of things that you were going to go to.
Yeah.
But I was nervous, seeing GDC prices. I was rather nervous about how much Oculus Connect was going to be, and thankfully it's going to be affordable. Well, I mean, relatively affordable. Some people are, still complaining on Reddit that it's expensive, but comparing it to other events, I don't really think it's that much.
Yeah, it's a fair price.
I can understand the lodging and travel. Of course, that stuff gets expensive, but that's just kind of the name of the game for any conferences if you're not in that area. Cool. So I kind of want to go into the whole year in review now, unless you guys think there's something really hot this week that got announced. I would certainly like to bring that up. I haven't been following things too closely this week.
Super hot.
Yeah, I'm kind of hot right now. I need to turn the AC down in this RV. Oh, wait. Terrible joke. Thank you. So, super hot. What's going on there?
No, it's a joke to you.
Two stellar jokes back to back, folks. Good night, everybody. Yeah, any other interesting stuff you guys came across this week?
Ruuubick left.
Good night.
You killed it. Be nice with Ruuubick, please. Oh,
hello.
Hi.
Hello again.
Howdy.
Tell us your name and how you got into VR.
He's unknown.
I'm unknown, am I?
No, I know who you are. I can tell by the voice, but...
Oh, does my name not say? See, I can't see. Huh.
What's in your chest, and I can't tell from here.
Yeah, my name is Jimmy, and I just got my DK2. It just showed up on the doorstep, so I thought I'd put it on and come in here. Is that cool?
Very cool. Very cool, Jimmy. We don't have a Jimmy yet, so it's perfect.
Actually, Gunter, Gunter, you have stumbled on the ultimate test to see if somebody has come in with a DK2. Is that you couldn't read his name? We should put like small print everywhere and ask people to read it. And anyone who can read it is wearing a DK2.
Oh, I can read it.
So yeah, guys, I'm glad, Rev, you're here. Thank you for joining. I know it's been a pretty busy day for you.
Yeah, it has.
And here we are gathering another Friday night. So let's talk about this last year. For me, it's getting to be that annual mark. I got my Rift last year during this month, right before my birthday. So that was super awesome. This is a great annual time for things to be coming out for me. And then specifically, like in August 5th, I was playing around on the Minecraft or Minecraft server, Metacraft server to be precise. And on August 5th, they dropped in positional audio with Mumble. So that was really early on social stuff kicking, and that's kind of how it started for me. But I'd like to go around and kind of just, you guys give me your thoughts in the last year, things that you thought were awesome, and how this is changing you, and just any other thoughts that you want to share. And let's start with Bob.
So yeah, I'm a little newer to the community. I've been around since I think March, but I mean I've been following virtual reality for about 20 years on and off, and so I went to SVVR and kind of like jumped in feet first with all the community stuff, kind of trying to go to all the events and everything. So I've thought that this has been a fantastic year, and the speed at which things are being developed in the past 2 years has just been incredible.
Yeah, totally. Who else wants to go next? Olivier, maybe?
Sure. Well, for me it was a difficult path, and still is, because I've been getting ready for VR for more than 2 years, since the first beginning of Kickstarters, and all my plan to design some certain type of game changes because of the technology is not here, because the programming is not here. And in July last year, I wanted to design a game which was a kind of racing game with little ships flying very fast. But at the time on UDK, Oculus rotation was taking over everything, so I was waiting for them to change their SDK so we could do actual rotation in ships, but it took too much time, so I switched project. Today I'm kind of in the same situation also, where I've been doing a game and waiting for input control, and when the input are going to be October, and so I'm starting a new game just a week ago, and that will use one button and stomps.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool.
But yeah, it's very, very interesting. I'm very happy where the things went, to be able to meet you guys for real at SVVR and see the growing of the community, and seeing where things are going. It's very nice. I wish things were going faster, but it's difficult with VR, where people expect to play some games are full body, and they have many dreams about this, and you just realize that, well, okay, I'm gonna design a one button game, and that will be easy to release right now, or I'm waiting for SDK and input, and I don't know what's going to be and how I'm going to integrate gameplay. So trying to survive.
It's just great to, though, hear about all these things that are going on with, all of us, and, thanks to VR chat and Riftmax allowing many of us to meet, for the first time, and just a space so we can become friends, basically, because, it's so much you can do on the Reddit to discuss and become friends and other things, but it was really quite special to be in this virtual reality where, you guys look very familiar, even with these Riftmax avatars, which are different from the VR chat avatars, but you just start to learn, just like people have different handles, and it's just so fantastic. I'm so happy. And let's move things around and talk to Rev. How was this last year for you, my friend?
A whirlwind of amazement. That's the best way I can put it. This year I gained hundreds of new family members. The community has, just been my backbone for the last year. It's been fantastic. I'm actually coming up to the 1 year anniversary of my podcast first week of August, and it blows my mind how many new amazing people I've met, friends I've made, connections, networking. It's just been fantastic. And I guess the big thing for me is, in this last year, I realized that we, as the VR community, understand what the future is going to be. We know that in 12 to 18 months, the world is going to change, and we get that. And we're this elite little group of people, and in the rest of the world, they're not going to know what hit them.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it was evident. If it wasn't before you actually tried the Rift because you were a fanboy, if it wasn't evident then, just because you knew it was coming, you could tell the Rift was becoming a thing, even if you didn't have it. By the time you got it, it was just so real, It was so something to be seen, and then it was like, oh, this is it. I can imagine everything. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, and I'm going to combine some of what other people are saying here, but the last year has been a surprise to me in both how slow and how fast things can move. The whole industry has been growing really fast, and things are getting bigger, and the money involved is getting bigger, and the projects involved are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the development to support those larger projects has been slow. I mean, you have to, okay, well, if we were going to support a bunch of hobbyists making tiny VR games, then the DK2 would have been out by now, right? But they have to take their time because it's bigger. It grew faster than anyone thought it would, and so now everything is taking longer to feed that larger industry. So I think that the last year has definitely been, everything is bigger and slower than I thought it would be, I guess is my summary.
It's just expanding so much, so now you have to fill up that expansion, else it seems like it's slowing, but however, it is going fast. So that's an interesting perspective.
And the quality has to be that much higher. I mean, Oculus is, they are going to release the CV1 when everything is perfect, absolutely perfect. And that wouldn't have necessarily been the case if it was a smaller industry. And so we might have gotten it sooner.
And Ruuubick's back, and we are going to do this sort of tag teaming situation with other folks that are part of the family and hear from them. But yeah, Ruuubick, what was this last year like for you?
Well, I guess nothing much changed like in the real world. Now in the virtual world, I got a new family, just tons of new friends. I got just probably the year I've slept the least of all, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was supposed to go to class sometimes, but I just decided to skip them just to be at events, and I do not regret it like for a second. I'm just so glad I'm part of this community, and I'm glad I'm going to be part of it for the next few years. I hope so, and it's been amazing to see these shows and places grow with so many people, so many amazing people. Just I'm glad.
Yeah, it's not just watching the software grow or these experiences get more rich, but we as participants in the show are growing so much, and we're not just playing games, but we are doing things and we're involved in each other's stuff, and we care. So it's fantastic. Olivia, I saw your hand go up.
Yes, I would like to add something to what Jesse said about the investment of other company and trying to survive, which for me is a big deal right now. But sure. I had some meeting in Paris with some famous indie funding people, and they are not going into VR right now. And the situation is for many people, which is the people outside of our group who truly believe in VR and have a 1 year experience living it and know how to design for it and how to create some experience, and also when you have some people trying your experience, this is some great feedback that you can get, and it's a big advance for everybody. But the situation of people not funding and waiting for VR to happen is a big reality where all the big companies are holding. I've also had some meeting with some other big companies, and what I realized doing a meeting with them was you can talk to them about your experience and I've designed this game and you played it this way and it's a simple game, but they don't realize how effective it is once you put the Rift on. And some of them, I talked to them for 1 hour or something, and I didn't know that some of them didn't try my demo using a Rift, and the conversation is really just in another level because you really have to try it and to get in. My Maze game on the paper, the producer I heard say, "Oh, I was not really into it because it's a Maze game." But once I tried it, I realized the potential, and here we really realize that potential, and it's a big opportunity for everybody to jump right in the VR wagon before all the T-Rex are coming in. The big society, they have T-Rex small arms, very big, dangerous, but they cannot catch anything. So
that's a cool analogy. Yeah, I do think it's kind of like this is all a big paradigm shift, and so the bigger companies that are dependent on things from the past, and that's how they look forward, are probably going to have a little bit of trouble beginning, but of course when things pick up, they're smart and they'll know what to do. But yeah, I like that. They're the Tyrannosaurus Rex, but we're the Velociraptors or just some silly mammal that has to run away. But yeah, the paradigm shift
too
is
risky for
big.
them.
It's not going to just be a paradigm shift for like technology. It's a paradigm shift for mankind, in my opinion. This is kind of what I think humanity and mankind's always been seeing in their dreams, seeing in their religious experiences and all of that. And this is kind of a culmination of what I think can start bringing some sort of reality to all that. But that's just where my crazy mind goes. What else has been going on this last year? And
Gunter, you're right about what's happening this year, but it's interesting to think about where are we going to be in 1 year, because right now, you always hear mostly from some extremist people who are against guns, violence, and all that kind of stuff, and it's usually mainstream people who get some wrong idea about things. And when Oculus Rift is going to be released, it's going to be a very interesting debate from people who are complaining that, oh, my kids, you made it try the Rift, are you crazy, or I got so scared, and all this debate is going to come full force pretty soon. That's in 1 year. We're going to have some pretty non-interesting conversation.
And it'll last until something else comes along. I mean, one of the side benefits of that conversation about VR is video games are finally going to get a pass. No one's going to be talking about video games anymore because VR is here to move the conversation along. So we just have to hold out until the next thing comes along.
Yeah, TV to video games to VR. Yeah.
Yep.
Although it doesn't really seem like there's a whole lot of violent demos so far. Most of the things that I've seen haven't been violent. It's been all sorts of other different experiences that developers have been making. It seems that the violent stuff is a minority.
So far, yeah. But when it goes mass market, I think it'll be more common.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no input. You cannot put a gun and aim and have targeting system, and it's so rudimentary that you can be in VR and still use keyboard and mouse. But when you will see kids using a replica of a gun and have a Rift on, and people will go through the window and see what's happening inside there, I'm sure there's going to be many calls to the police or something like that.
Well, yeah, but the worst thing, what's weirder though, is somebody looking in at these kids playing in their house.
Yeah,
that's the real issue.
But what difference is it than today with kids playing on their Xboxes and PlayStations with gun controllers? I mean,
and people
them all the way
would complain about
like
that.
Nintendo.
Same thing. Just a different finger pointing to another direction, which will be VR.
Yeah, it's the demonizing. It's people that that attack these. And I guess it's a lot of times it could be fair if I had a child that then seemed to get impacted by these things, and it especially in a very negative way. I can understand that, but skateboards kill kids sometimes too. So and I don't know, and those actually kill them. So it's kind of weird why focus is put on media so much.
Media is the worst. Like, there's more violence on the news than I see in video games.
Yeah, but I think the world and planet, there's violence, and I don't think you can escape that. And I like violence when I can act it out in my video games or explore it in my movies. It's not something I really get to do because I don't really do that in my life. So violence is built into humans, and it's just part of survival and plenty of other things. So I always find it interesting that it's kind of like trying to be perfect in the world. They're trying to make sure everybody speaks right and doesn't say negative things. I don't really have time for that. Of course, it needs to be considered because some people are going to complain as far as the movement goes, but I just don't think you're going to make everybody happy, so you might as well just do what you think's right.
So is your RV bulletproof?
No. Maybe I should think about that. That would be cool to get a big armored RV, just kind of move everybody out of my way. Big RV tank.
I'm totally thinking of the A-Team right now for some reason.
Dun, 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 dun. Is that the
Haven't
right
seen
thing?
an RV with that kind of paint scheme yet.
Yeah, that would be epic. I'm naming my RV Rocksteady. So sort of like Bebop and Rocksteady, but I also love that song, Rock Steady, Steady Rock and Roll Night Long. So yeah, it has its own song too. It plays all the time. If nobody knows that, then they need to look it up. It's an awesome video. So yeah, let's see if we got any other folks in the audience that want to tell some stories. I don't know, is Nate out there, or who else is around?
I'm out, but I don't have any stories. I don't remember any of them.
I want to add something. I'm talking a lot. That's okay.
The Rift has erased his memories. Well, basically, anybody out there that wants to share some stuff, please just, raise your hand and stuff. Don't want to sit here and try to make things awkward or anything, but I want everybody to feel like they have a place to share as well. But Olivier, what were you saying?
Yes, about what's happening in 1 year. Also, I'm very happy the way things are going with the VR experience we can have, mostly thanks to Riftmax and especially VR chat, where things are evolving in a way that you can really express yourself using the tool that Jesse made, where you can create your own model that represents more about yourself, and you can also begin to create some experience, like some levels and some really interesting things. And that's a very cool path that has been changing a lot even these past weeks.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's fantastic, and we see the Dark Akuma over there has been utilizing that SDK, building custom maps, custom avatars. I actually commissioned him to build my avatar over there, and yeah, that's exactly what Dark Akuma is expressing himself. I know Olivier's made jump chat over there, and who knows, I don't know if you've made anything else, but just really neat that these, it's really allowing you to express yourself, but really share this inner expression. So, and it's quick and easy to do. Is what I don't actually do that, but from what I see from you guys, it's not really this huge process. That the SDK's made it really easy. So
actually, it just got easier too. You don't have to find the spine or the arms anymore. There, Olivier. I can read them straight out of the humanoid avatar.
Nice.
So improvements all the time.
Excellent. And yeah, VR chat was such a big deal. I remember hanging out in Minecraft, and it was early days in August, and Bruce was streaming. That's how I learned about the Metacraft server, was I think right after I got my Rift. I'd already been watching Cymatic Bruce, tuning into things, and saw that server and was like, oh man, I gotta go hang out in a Minecraft server where everybody's done a whole bunch of cool stuff already. Not all I was doing was playing single player before, and just didn't want to spend much time in it because it takes a lot of time. So yeah, just finally positional audio got put on, and we respawned to the spawn point. A few of us that basically I was there when positional audio dropped. It was like 15 minutes later that I kind of became aware of that, and a bunch of us just kind of spawned up and we're like, hello, and you instantly could hear that people were at different spots. One of us fell off it was up very high on a floating island and fell off, and you could hear kind of the Wile E. Coyote hey woo-hoo-hoo, or something like that falling down, and just these very simple things that probably wouldn't do much for me now because I've been in the social VR stuff for a while, but just the smallest little things, and that's kind of what has been interesting about the virtual reality stuff, is just looking down at the ground sometimes is remarkable, just to see just the realistic texture or the walls, not so much caring about being a ninja or superhero right now, even though I do want to be that stuff.
Yeah.
And then for me, after
Everyone's looking for presence in their virtual reality games, but like as soon as somebody else in the room says something and with positional audio or looks at you or does anything like nodding your head like you are, just like anytime something does that, the whole experience earns presence in that one moment, you know, and you really are there. It's like as soon as somebody else is in the room with you, presence is achieved.
Yeah.
That's one of the things
that's
that
my
Riftmax and VR chat do well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I haven't tried a DK2 and those sorts of presency-like things, and I feel like the falling from heights sometimes can get that, especially in the early days. But really, if you have to presence, you have to kind of what is it, like with movies, your suspension of disbelief, but with this you have to suspend belief, and so that is what's going on. Is like, I really believe that I'm here with you guys. I'm not thinking at all about where my body really is or any of that, and I'm not really concentrating actually what my virtual body even is doing at this moment. I really am caught up in our conversation, because that's where my emotion is, I think, and I think more of that's plugging into my brain and causing that presence. I love VR social stuff.
How about Radial G? You guys missed it in your recap of what was going on recently, I believe.
What's going on? I love that. I tried the demo. It's freaking
Kickstarter.
awesome.
Yeah, that was good. That was fun.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
And they need help on the Kickstarter. Yeah, they need some help.
Yeah, let's help them out.
Go back, Radial G.
It's a beautiful game. It must be just a little bit bad time because of, a lot of other Kickstarters. Apparently, some people haven't paid for their DK2, so that's going to be zapped out of their bank account. But it's like Wipeout and F-Zero. I love those things. I think it's fantastic for virtuality. It was smooth, fun. I wasn't getting sick, so guys, get it. What else is there to say about it?
Imagine it as multiplayer. It's going to be awesome. I mean, they just need some money.
Leaderboards and everything.
Yeah, it reminds me of Snowdrift. Just see the leaderboard there and everything. It's all about how much you can connect, I think, with other people. I think people-powered things is going to be, more of a thing in the future. We see us powering all of this that we're doing here, and I think that's how we want to interact with the world, is with real people, not NPCs as much. But we shall see.
Yep. It's funny every time you hear somebody who's supposed to know better calling VR antisocial. It just doesn't hold up.
Nope.
Whenever I hear that argument, I say, well, obviously you haven't tried Riftmax or VR chat.
Yep. Yeah. And really, are people just going to not do the social stuff? They're just gonna sit by themselves in these games? I don't know. I mean, even games now, there's a huge multiplayer aspect to it, and for a good reason.
Yeah, but I mean, most of the time when you play games, nobody's talking. I mean, I was playing Diablo 3 earlier. It was like a team game, basically. Mm-hmm. And nobody's using the chat at all. So I don't even know if multiplayer games are multiplayer, because playing with AI, it's just the same thing as playing with humans. But you guys probably don't have this problem, but every time my father see me spending my time on, see me in the waking up at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. because I just had to go to a show, just telling me that I have to stop this crap and just go out and do things. He doesn't realize I'm talking to people around the world all night long, and it seems interesting, and I'm just learning so much, and I'm making contacts. I mean, they probably need to be useful, and I need to connect to people that way.
Certainly.
And going outside, just funny, but it's basically VR. What with VR will allow us to do is go beyond the body and just be a mind in a free world and connect with people, because the body, just the way you move your mind, and just being able to be in a social world and speak with everybody with a free body, just that is the experience I want.
Outside,
I love that.
Is that the one with the sun?
Yeah, I've heard about it. I've tried, and I don't like it.
So. I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, it's actually rising right now.
I prefer the black sun.
Sure.
There you go.
I think, Ruuubick, when you said about the body, and I remember Terrence McKenna, one of my favorite favorite speakers, authors, thinkers. He did talk about how, humanity seems to maybe be evolving to the point where they're trying to transcend the human body. That really it's a limiting factor for, what we feel is our potential, what we can become. And, we're breaking barriers all the time. And could we think about cyborgs, or we think about downloading our brains in the Matrix. These are sort of things, but definitely think VR is getting us to that, being able to extend our minds beyond our body and into this ocean of chaos. Blows my mind, like, all the time. So we need some other things that's happened this year, just, to bring up. I'm kind of a bit out of things to bring up, but let's keep the chat going.
Like big projects or small things?
Anything.
Okay, so it's not really a problem, but I've seen actually the community drift like slowly towards Elite Dangerous from Star Citizen, because at some point we were all saying like, we're all going to meet up in Star Citizen, we're going to have a big crew, and so Elite Dangerous appeared with a perfect DK1 support and like everything, voice control, like command attack, and that blew my mind. And I just wondered if the community we had a poll last time, but I just wonder if people just abandoned the idea of going to on Star Citizen at some point, because it's not going to be released like before maybe 2016. So I just wonder if people are going to join the Elite Dangerous and forget about Star Citizen.
That's a great question.
I think Star Citizen has a lot of people that are really looking forward to it, and I think it'll be fine. But that's definitely one of those things like that that grew so fast that it's going to be slow to develop. I mean, the same way that the other things are. I mean, the amount of money they have to spend is so high.
Yeah, totally. I definitely invested and was super stoked. I wasn't really doing much besides hanging out in Minecraft at the time. So that just seemed like a great idea, would be to be in that world eventually in an MMO and have, board people's ship or go use their toilet or whatever's inside their ship. And I totally want to do those sorts of things. However, just dogfighting was delayed, and I haven't even tried dogfighting, just based on what I've heard and what I've seen in video. It just doesn't seem to be worth it. Of course, they need to keep working on it, and your CryEngine is having the support for it is what it is. So I understand people are going to have to wait. We're going to have to wait longer, but it'll be interesting. There are going to be competitors, and will this be a huge virtual reality thing? Is that going to be dominant, or are we going to see that become marginalized with Star Citizen and just be a bunch of folks with screens?
I'm in a wait and see mode. I didn't back either of them. I'm just waiting to see which one ends up turning out better.
I had to back Star Citizen. Chris Roberts is actually the reason I'm in video games as a developer, so I owed him that one. Wing Commander 1, way back in the day, just blew my mind. It was incredible what he was able to put together. And I was in grade 11, I think it was, and I played it for basically a week while my parents were on vacation, and they didn't know I was at home playing this video game for a week. So I owe Chris Roberts. I had to back him.
Sure. I heard somebody, I think, in the audience mention, anybody in the audience backing or want to chime in on Star Citizen?
Yeah, I also backed it. I just appreciate Jesse's story there. That was awesome.
Are you a Wing Commander fan?
Yeah, somewhat. I backed Star Citizen for sure. I'm also disappointed with the lack of a working Oculus Rift integration at this point, but it's all work in progress. But
yeah,
yep.
You can't get really mad at them early on, right? They're developing, obviously. So
that's my belief. Yeah.
Yeah, but we couldn't get mad at them before, but now that we have Elite, which is perfect, and everything is working fine, and it seems like it's going well and going to be released soon, can we be mad now? Because we had high hopes and high expectations for Star Citizen before Elite, and just Elite came out of nowhere, and yeah.
I could definitely see frustration, but, being being mad at them. I mean, they tried what they're doing, and now there's competitor or something, and that's always a risk for us. Is it could be something to come out, just like investing in, I think, these hardware things and whatnot. But frustrating for sure.
So they really have to spend all the money they have, like 45 millions also.
Yeah, I think they should just give all the backers some money back.
Yeah. They should give them some back because, they won't be able to.
Say, we don't need all this. Here, take some of it back.
Yeah.
Well, the Kickstarter, they have some obligation to use the money for development of the game, but if they're just selling ships after the fact, then some of that money can be profit. I mean, that's not unethical.
Mm-hmm. Cool. What else we got? What happened this last year as far as other things?
So I think that this past year, when we were coming up on 2014, everyone was like, "Yeah, 2014. This is going to be the year of VR." But I think kind of
in the CV1 at the end of the year. Yeah.
What happened was 2014 ended up being the year of hardware delays.
Yeah, I always thought that from the beginning. 2014 CV1 never made any sense to me. That was before 2014. And all these things, even STEM and Prio, and it's always like you hope for, and they got to put some sort of date on there, but it's just not so feasible. There's always things are going to change over that year, and they're going to learn things, and it's just it's a moving target.
And I guess most of the people, from what we've seen on Reddit, people are okay with a later date of release. They want the perfect product, and Oculus want to release the perfect product, so no one is going to be mad at a later release date. 2015 is fine. We don't need it now. We need experiences and people making stuff, but the CV1 itself, we can wait, because when it's going to hit the masses, it's going to be hard for us and for Oculus.
There's one thing about that I would one angle anyway that I would argue with you on, which is for the developer who wants to make money in VR, not having a commercial unit, especially if somebody's already committed to making products in VR, the longer that goes, the more likely it is they're going to have to find another plan.
Me. That's what I do. It's a big issue.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Since I'm not trying to do that, I always want this early day stuff to just keep on going. I kind of really dig it.
It's also too early. If you look at how many games and how many experiences are going to be released for CV1, we don't really know. Oculus is targeting a seated experience. Morpheus is fighting with a big studio to tell them hey, you have to lower things down so it runs on PS4. There's no real game or a good range of game that will be a good decision for everybody to buy the hardware. There's the thing that are more advanced are the space simulation. It's seated, and you have Eve, you have Star Citizen, you have Elite Dangerous,
and Half-Life 3.
Yes. But it's too early for CV1, even if it was released in September. It's all about content, not about the hardware. But it's a cycle, because I want to make content and I'm waiting for the hardware. So it's and I'm sure I'm not the only one in that situation. So there's a big loop in there.
And speaking of Half-Life 3, could we have a serious talk about it? Can we expect Half-Life 3 with CV1? Because if it has to come out at some point, it's going to be in VR. And I just wonder if a time frame like this would be possible, because we have no idea how and when Half-Life 3 is being made and since when it's being made. So
the elusive Half-Life 3. It's kind of been that way with Half-Life 2. It took many years before they decided to do that. So I don't think we're gonna to know anything like that. I mean, especially if we haven't heard anything yet, that means they're going to keep their cards close, which, of course, somebody like Valve is going to do, what they think's the best, and they don't need to show cards, but it's what we all want, so I'm sure they're listening to that, and for it not to be in VR, which would just not make any sense. That game, especially Half-Life 2, with the realistic facial animations and just how all that was playing out, it was very immersive in a way, even on the 2D screen. So, and going and playing that now through Wormslayer's, the VR mod that he's working on with somebody else, Sonic Retard, right? Yeah, I think so.
I've had philosophical conversations with people at Valve with nothing specific or NDA violating, but the point that they make in a theoretical sense is that they don't know how they would innovate to the level that a Half-Life fan would want. Like a first-person shooter, I mean, they've been done. So they don't think they can hit the quality bar that is expected, and they think they'd alienate all their people. Of course, they'd sell a lot of copies, but they wouldn't make as much money as if those people were working on Dota.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's very interesting perspective. I mean, these other games were groundbreaking. So yeah, VR is groundbreaking, but yeah, we don't want just another first-person shooter, is what a lot of us are saying. So very interesting.
We want a Half-Life. We want something with that level of innovation, right? That's what we want. Half-Life 2 was one of the first games with really good physics in it, right? So each one has been.
You kind of broke up for me. You said each one?
Sorry. Each one has been totally revolutionary, and so that's a hard bar to hit.
Yeah,
there might be a Duke Nukem Forever. Yeah, that was awesome.
All those things. Yeah. So it's like they could bring Half-Life 3 out, make a first-person shooter, but what's going to separate it from other first-person shooters in VR when Half-Life 3 comes, right? Yeah. What's the technology?
And so would they have it for CV1 release? Maybe not. Maybe they would keep an eye out and just, be patient and make the best product they can. They probably want to watch some of that.
Or they wait until they release their console with their own controller.
Yeah. Super interested in that.
Steam boxes.
I mean, anything that's not an Xbox, PlayStation, I'm pretty happy with. I'm totally not invested in those things.
No, I love them too. I made my living on consoles for a while, so sure, I'm a big fan.
Hey, Gunter, birthday boy, I'm really curious. Why do you long for the days of it perpetually being the early days of VR? What do you mean by that?
I kind of like the DK Rift and all its flaws, or the DK Rift, just the DK1. It reminds me of like the Millennium Falcon. And how I really like that 70s style of future. And I also like the community that I'm meeting here are people of similar age. They are people that I want to do social stuff with. I think sometimes when you play some of those first-person shooters or Diablo, you can do social and talk even to these people. You just don't end up, it's a little bit too big of a community, I think. It's going to take more effort to find the specific people you want to play with. And, would they really be playing that often? So I've just found something special here. And then it's definitely going to get more crowded in the CV1 space, but that's just going to be a different thing. I'm going to love meeting tons of people there. We're going to get to do a lot more, but I guess in my life I've become super patient. Like, I know my life is going to end at some point, so I'm not in any rush to get any faster to the end.
So, a bunch of points. You said allusion to the Millennium Falcon, but I bet if someone handed you that future CV1 now, you'd give away your DK1 with the illusions of being like a Millennium Falcon in a heartbeat, I'm sure. Second point, I guess you're worried about like those Tyrannosaurus Rexes you were talking about earlier. They would kind of dilute our sort of community interest, and we wouldn't no longer meet as individuals anymore because these sort of titans in the industry would sort of it would all dissolve. That's something that you fear, or?
Well, Well, fears are, these are things that I chat about. I mean, I kind of go different ways depending on, how I'm feeling or what I'm thinking, because all this is changing so fast. But as far as I love, VR chat, I love Riftmax, and I can't wait to try Janus with all the social stuff. So I am going to want to play with all the other ones too, the big guys. And I think in the future we're just going to have different metaverses to go hang out in, and we'll probably hop to other ones. And maybe there'll be a way that we have a master sort of avatar and ID system that allow us to take that with us to these other metaverses. But I never claimed to kind of have a certain opinion. Mine seems to change a lot.
No, I got no vested interest in talking about any particular thing one way. It's just the whole idea of, in the animal kingdom, say, like, I guess you brought that up, that all animals kill other animals, to live. Right, whether those are animals in the Sin Kingdom or other kingdoms, plant or whatever. But, everyone must kill. So you separate the indies and the ones that are really established in industry. Both kind of have a predatory nature. Both will want to succeed, They're both one and the same entity. We're all animals, right? So I see the future being one where we should embrace both, to have those great games, those, we are embracing them too, like the Star Citizen, the Valkyries. Those are kind of the T-Rexes you're talking about, right? Those big players, I guess, right now, at least in the VR space. But we can debate it next week, but
oh, absolutely, we totally will. And James is going to be on next week's show, and so something that makes me think of, like, we certainly, all animals basically, or life seems to swallow up other life, right? That's how it keeps going. And if we look at everything in the universe, it's sort of like that. It's just transferring of energy, and it just gets crazy in my mind. But I really think that something that's overlooked a lot of times is how cooperation really plays into this. And cooperation is how I think species and things actually survive. I don't think it's completely survival of the fittest, but because one of the survival of the fittest techniques is to cooperate. It's why humans are so good at what they're doing, and you see this through other things as well. So I think we should all cooperate. Yeah. It's idealistic and not, at totally, but if I could, like, say, do it this way, that's what I would say.
Oh, I only brought it up just to say, those guys who are the Tyrannosaurus Rexes, they might not mean harm. They're just being a T-Rex, man.
Totally.
Another animal.
Yeah.
They want to make something great too, but they got a lot of more money behind them or whatever. Or a big history of development, right? They probably were an indie once too,
Yeah, and they got to eat as well.
In the Wing Commander 1 days, like Jesse's talking about, grade 11.
If VR might not be the only place, money will not be able to buy anything with it. Like, if you have a community and a place people hang out, no matter what platform and place you make with money, it won't bring people inside of it. Like, if people decide to stick with a platform like VRChat and Riftmax, people won't go to another because it's better. If a community decided to stick with something, money doesn't change anything.
Yeah, it's the nature of capitalism.
Yeah, you go where the... Yeah, and so it's all about the content, and I really see people as content. I mean, of course, Facebook thinks that, but I mean, I think people are what's really up here. None of this hardware or software would matter if it wasn't for people, and it's obvious and stuff. But I think that's how I think and look at this stuff to start.
Well, if it weren't for people, what's the point?
It's true, and their experience matters, not just like there's a million people doing this thing, but are a million people, benefiting, enjoying, what's their experience like, and let's make sure we're focusing on that over, like, I'm really good at these techniques and making sophisticated things. If nobody's, looking at it, it doesn't matter. I guess it's like if a tree falls over in the woods, is it heard? I don't know. And we're going to go to somebody to my right, that's at the microphone. Do you have a question?
Right.
Yeah. Hey, party people, is my mic working okay?
Hey.
Yeah.
Tell us what's up.
Well, I thought I'd chime in on the old nostalgia factor there. I too sort of long for the earlier days of the community, but my reasoning is a little bit different. For me, it is, I remember going into VR chat early when there was only 10-ish people, and you feel like you're your own little island going, oh man, this VR stuff is cool, it's going to take over, it's going to be the best thing in the world. And you go into VR chat and you turn to someone and go, man, this VR stuff is cool, it's going to change the world. And they're like, I know, right? So, I know too. You know what's really cool as well? Would it be great with movies? It would be great with movies. And it's this like really excited back and forth. Oh my god, you think that too? And now it's preaching to the choir. It's like you turn to everybody going, oh, VR is cool. Yes, it is cool. So we're on agreement. Nobody wants to
but it's
talk.
Really cool, Jason. I think we're confounded, though, really. It's like, by being in here, we keep like, wow, really? This? And then you're trying to tell people, and it's just a lot, I think, that we are taking in, and we certainly can talk about intelligently, but I think our minds and bodies are really still processing all this, and I'm sure in our dreams we are, and apparently people are dreaming in VR, or thinking they're in VR in their dreams, which is wild.
And we had a guy who came like a few weeks ago, I would say month, maybe. He just arrived on the chat and say, well, that is dumb, that people are stupid. And I mean, you have to imagine there's like probably a million of those people that are going to just spit on VR and people like enjoying VR. So I mean, we all like comfort we are in a small group, and everybody like is thinking the same thing and loving the same stuff. But at some point, we're going to be confronted to people who think VR is dumb, whose VR is useless, who VR is not working on. So, I mean, it's pretty easy to feel like great inside of this space with people around us like thinking the same thing. But at some point, in those spaces, we'll have to confront people just going to hate on each other, like the internet.
Except they'll be in virtual reality, so that'd be interesting if they're in VR complaining about VR.
Yeah.
But it probably will be happening. They'll try it all out and they just won't like it, but they'll still, people like to complain, I guess.
I think it will be.
I'm a big fan of that idea of just taking down quotes from people and then, approaching them. Just having a nice big store of usernames followed by quotes about VR, and just wait for some day in the future, track these people down and just like rub them in the face with it. Oh, what was that you said? VR's not going to take off. VR's not going to be important. Huh?
Just kick them out of VR. You're like, you can't come in. What were you saying, Bob?
I was just appreciating. I was just laughing, man.
So I was going to say that I think that the people that might be complaining, that we'll see complaining, might be people that are not having the best experiences because of lower end hardware, and it might be just due to ignorance of not knowing what they need, and they put it on and they have low frame rates, things are tearing, and they're just like, this is terrible, this is stupid, what are all you people talking about? And it'll just be something that they just don't understand.
Which you could see with PCs too, if somebody tries to play something that they can't run well, which I remember being my case. When I was younger, I didn't have the stuff that I needed. And of course, I wanted to play all the cool stuff, but didn't have the money to buy what I needed, and so sometimes I missed out on things that a lot of people did. So I think we're gonna definitely have complainers there, and hopefully we can help solve that. I mean, I guess some certain experiences that are scaled down, since this universe definitely takes a style that is friendly to sort of stuff like that. So, but yeah, great points.
We're going to see a lot of very frustrated people with the release of DK2 that just have no clue what kind of hardware they need to be running, and not knowing the nuances of how to operate things. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be here for, right? To help people.
That's right.
And we'll have to point them to the experiences that don't require high-end hardware.
Yep. Yeah, we are really the people that decide to be pioneers, and I think it's our responsibility to, make good stuff, but to also do the people part of things, to receive them. It sort of started out for me, like with the Minecraft. I couldn't really build like everybody could, but I certainly loved seeing it all and seeing the sense of scale and just at all with it. And so I kind of ended up taking this role. I'd try to greet the new people, help them out, be like, hey, I learned all this cool stuff, and everybody's cool here. Let me help you feel the same way that that I feel, and then that's the kind of thing that I really love to do, and try to extend this into the other stuff. But I think when CV1 hits, it's definitely, I'm going to feel more responsible to play a role in that.
That Minecraft mod is amazing.
It really is. I'm not sure if everybody has explored it and knows it or not. And the server, it doesn't get as much traffic now. I'd love to see a resurgence, maybe with DK2.
They could keep up. They're on like 1.6.2. There's like 1.7.
Yeah, that was a big problem.
And the fallout with Notch from way back when. Talk about recapping shit in the past year, right?
Sure.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. That could have went a lot better, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. That and the whole Facebook thing, maybe we could talk. That was certainly huge.
Oh, yeah.
Probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people don't like Facebook.
Yeah, some people may be changing their tune now, but certainly, yeah, I mean, I certainly don't use Facebook that much. I'm always interested in it as a technology, and I'm always interested in the people that start these things. It's freaking amazing. Jason, what do you think about this?
The day the Facebook thing happened, I was like not online for a day. Of all days, not to be online. I come back the next day and I'm just pottering by, and I don't even go to the subreddit first. I log into Mumble, and like I'm greeted by Nate just going, "Oh God, Jason, get out of here, please. We've just been ranting about this for the last hour. We don't need to hear you rant about it too." And I'm like, "What? Rant about what? You haven't heard? You haven't heard?" And all of a sudden, like linked to the Reddit, and just watching in shock. And it's like that. If there's a camera on me, it would have been like doing the Kubrick style zoom as this dramatic look on my face, and I'm like, okay, I want to rant about this right now, but first I have to go right to the pub. I have to go right to get myself a lot of alcohol. I'll come back and then begin ranting. And oh yeah, I was a full-on doomsayer. I was just looking at that going, what has become of VR? I was just like lamenting the future. So I slightly changed my tune, but I still think my points were valid. I just may have been a little bit overzealous on them.
When I first saw the news, I didn't see it on Reddit. I saw it just online in my feed, and my initial thought was, wow, this is incredible. And then I went to Reddit, and I'm like, what the hell are all these people talking about? Why are they hating on it? I don't understand. This is going to be fantastic for VR. And then, and then we came in here into Riftmax, and we all kind of like talked about it. And I think a lot of the people that were in here and were talking about it, they were kind of the same opinion, or they were, kind of calming down, and once they were able to talk about it with other people, kind of face to face, even virtually, they kind of calmed down and realized actually how good this is.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would probably agree now that like how great it is. And what I really thought was interesting, I went back and forth. I was like, what? I think a coworker told me, and I was like, how did I not find out from my peoples and found out through a coworker who they're not really into this at all, but I flip-flopped. I almost started creating some jump to conclusion mat thing with the whole Oculus Facebook thing. We're all jumping to these conclusions, and I don't like that sort of thing, but I definitely had my like worries and things. What does this mean? But really, I think the great thing is that we all were emotional, that we all do care, that we want these things to be care, and so that's why we get in these places. So I think that's interesting, and I think a lot of people that I've talked to certainly feel better about it, and I do as well. I'm certainly just interested that there's a lot of money behind this. That's a huge thing.
And it's not the money, it's going to be the potential ubiquity of it as a platform. Yeah. The fact that it can get into that many people's hands, right? And it's got that scale.
Yeah, it's a user base. Yeah.
Exactly. That if their mission was, let's make VR a platform, they've succeeded.
Oh, pardon me. Actually, my RV bathroom's right next to me, so I was just able to hop in there.
Are you for real?
No, I'm not. I'm glad you asked that question, though. No, I didn't even cue that soundtrack. I think it might have been Holotape. Pretty sure.
Right.
Sorry, it was
that was hilarious.
Anyway.
So,
but I was one of those people who was... Sorry.
Anyway, we probably have to thank Rev and Kyle for making such an awesome podcast at that time in such a chaotic environment.
Truly.
I mean, everybody was going crazy. The subreddit was a mess. Everybody was talking crap. And just Rev made a podcast that just stopped everything. Like, just, you're wrong. It's not a bad thing. Here is why. Just listen to us for an hour and just stop like spamming shit all over the internet. And basically, it's the first podcast I've heard about Rev because I wasn't part of this community yet, and I was amazed by just people speaking over facts and we needed that at some point we needed somebody to say stop. You guys know nothing. I mean, basically, we needed someone to just be like to explain everything to everybody because nobody knew how this thing worked. But I guess because it appeared from nowhere. I mean, Facebook, $2 billion. I mean, people went crazy, and we can understand why. But at the same time, I had my father who told me, hey, I've heard like the thing you told me about was bought by Facebook, and that amazed me. I mean, my father knew nothing about it and just came to me and told me the thing he told me about was on Facebook. My little sister too. I mean, that was amazing. Facebook just allowed the entire world to know about the Rift, and that is the best thing that could have ever happened.
Actually, let's bring Rev Kyle up here. Rev, come on up, take my seat, and talk about this.
Yeah, we need claps.
Oh, shucks. Okay.
Oh, you're too kind.
By the way, when you're talking about Kyle's podcast on the fateful day, I was definitely a listener too when it came out, and I just like to play devil's advocate in that because I was about maybe 5 bottles deep. I was listening to the podcast, and it was, and I was still in like rant mode, but it was that sort of, I wasn't spamming the forum full of content. It was simply just working through all of the potential bad things in my head, and I was listening to the podcast just like fuming in my seat, going, I wish there was one person in the counterpoint seat for that podcast, because to me it was like, here's a bunch of people across the world fuming about this and having all these like doomsayer concepts and ideas, and you're just listening to all these like big names in the community going, yeah, it's all good, yeah, it's pretty good, yeah. What about my concerns? Where's my concerns? I want to hear someone rebut it and sort of help me work through my issues with this, rather than just sort of have a smiling face on the front of it. It was needed because there was a lot of trolling and people were losing their damn minds, but it would have been nice to have someone there to argue seriously the counterpoints of what could go wrong with this.
I have to admit, Jason, that's the right way to consume my podcast, is with 5 pints of whatever. Yeah. So. No, it was a strange day for me. I for whatever reason, I was home when the news came out, and I don't know if it was like later I guess it was later in the day, and I remember I was cooking, and most of you have probably heard this story before. I literally dropped my spoon. I was stirring this like stew, and I just dropped it, and I was like, and I realized the implications immediately. I knew. I was like, oh God. My wife's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I have to hurry and get to Reddit now before and it was too late, and it was just a disaster. And I immediately called up Ben Lang and Semantic Bruce and a few other people. I'm like, we need to calm everyone down right now. Whether this is good or bad or whatever, this could get really ugly really quickly. And so I felt the need to be objective. I wouldn't say we were being positive or negative. I think we were just being objective. Yeah. And I think we did a good job of saying the potential goods, the potential bads. No, we didn't rant, but we could have, but it wouldn't have done much good, and that's not what we were all about. And it was actually the first time up to that point my podcasts had always been just kind of lighthearted, tongue-in-cheek, let developers hawk their wares, that sort of thing. This was the first time I felt like I was doing something newsworthy, something legitimate and real, and it really changed my attitude going forward a lot about how to address the community.
Nice. It's very interesting and well done. And Yeah, I mean, so you've come quite a ways from when your podcast started and joining with Road VR and then doing stuff like this for the community. I mean, you've been evangelizing, but you're also curating and protecting, the stuff that we love and that you love.
Oh yeah, no, it's I go back and listen to some of my first couple podcasts. Please don't do that. Oh man, it's horrible. Yeah, it is. It's horrible. They're not good.
Might be fun to go back and edit them and just like put new commentary over the show.
Yeah. If anybody wants to do if anybody wants
to do
I'm sure you have
lots of time for that.
Yeah, a best of Rev VR podcast. I won't say no to that, but I just don't have the time for that. But yeah, it does. I feel, anytime I get that email, I'll wake up to a dozen emails every morning, and whenever I get that email, it says, "Hey, thanks for what you do." It validates me in meeting folks. Yeah, at the at the meetups and the conferences and the expos and everything. It's very validating to know that people appreciate what I do, and that's why I do it. I do it for the community. I've said that so many times.
Your podcast is awesome, man.
Thank you.
On my left, we got somebody at the microphone and wanted to ask you to state your name and chime in.
Hi, this is Gigi. I just wanted to comment about the Facebook thing. I wasn't interested by Oculus before Oculus actually bought, before Facebook bought Oculus actually. So that's what got me interested into the topic. And so, it kind of validated for me that it was actually not a gimmick. It was a real thing, and it was an important, it was going to be real. So that's what got me interested. I started reading about it, and that's how I got into the community and all that. But it's funny that you guys mentioned that everyone went crazy. I had no idea it was this bad. I'm sure lots of people were mad, but I didn't think it was that bad.
I love when we, it's kind of not really, but when we talk about like virtual reality, it's real now. And this whole, like, what is a virtual reality? And it's kind of funny, but that's so cool that's how you kind of got brought in. Interesting.
Yeah, Gunter, I don't know if everybody noticed, but for the last maybe less than a month, there's more and more people coming to Riftmax and VR chat. Yeah. There's a big boom in the VR. I noticed. I'm really surprised. Rev, there was also this very nice meetup that Road to VR organized earlier, and it was fully packed, and it was a great event, of course. But I'm interested. Do you know if your the audience of your podcast, do you have like some numbers going very high or changing recently, or do you have numbers from your audience?
Yeah, I'll share it with you guys. I'm not, it's something that I haven't really shared with anybody because
it's okay, honestly,
No, I guess it's about time. No, it really kind of proves the point how much the community has grown. When I first started doing my podcast, prior to being with the Road to VR team, I was happy if I got 400, maybe 500 listens per episode. Joining the Road to VR team has grown that exponentially. I will on a regular basis get 4,000 or 5,000 hits on a podcast. Yeah, thanks. Nice. And it's been there's actually been a few anomalies. For some reason, the gal that I did with the ASMR, that Allie, that podcast, episode 69. Yes, that was intentional. Yeah. For some reason, that episode has had over 30,000 hits. Wow. Since I'm not really sure why, but I'll take it. So I'm
69.
Yeah, exactly. You put 69 on Stitcher and suddenly everybody listens to it. I'm very, very happy with the numbers, and they grow. Obviously, the Ubercast with Palmer, that was a huge one. That one's had close to 10,000 hits. So, obviously things are going in the right direction.
Well, see, your ASM podcast had more than the Palmer Lucky one, eh?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
Over here.
No, Yeah, it happened.
Discovered in some other community or somewhere, probably is what happened.
It was. Yeah, that ASMR community is huge. And I know some people, well, a lot of people don't get it. That's okay. You don't have to get it because they're our new cousins. So VR and ASMR are now cousins.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, Kyle, your podcast was an inspiration as a potential content provider to anybody out there who wanted to actually make something. For that very reason you mentioned earlier, is that I was one of those people who listened to your first episode and went, man, this sucks. I am not listening to this. And I like full on like listened to like 40 minutes of it and just went, oh, okay, I'm just going to completely avoid. And I did. I completely avoided like 12 episodes and was sort of, okay, just another content I can just like glossed over every time a new podcast post was put up. And then I just saw there was like an influx of people talking about it and it getting, traction. I'm like, okay, I'll give it another listen. And then like just whatever episode I dived back in on, like I think it was something like 20 or 25, I was like, the leap in quality was insane. And I actually ended up going, okay, well, I'm going to like super listen to this now. And then went back and then backtracked like 12 or so episodes back and then sort of carried on from there. So it's just amazing to me that it locks that in your head, that if someone's sitting here kind of going, can I make content? Can I be a host or do a podcast or do a whatever? It can be terrible because there's some magic which makes it better over time. And, that's perfectly, it gave me that hope that maybe someday I could possibly do something similar, And, just bravo and thanks for being an inspiration on that front.
Absolutely, thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, and Gunter,
you and Bruce,
you and I, Gunter, have talked about, when you start up something like this, a show, and the growing pains, and it is something you have to, pay your dues and work through the hardships, and then you get to a point where you're comfortable with it, and the content is amazing, and you're a fool to think it's going to happen immediately. And I've done a lot to network with the other podcasters, folks who have ambitions to become a name in the media space in VR. I want to do everything in my power to help them. I know Bob and Jason, you guys have done one. I think it was Holotape was in there with you. Yeah, you guys did a great podcast, and it was a good first foray into it. It can only get better from there. And, I did a lot to reach out to other podcasters and other industries and say, hey, what do you guys do that makes your podcast successful? And I did my research, and I got some new hardware, and I got some, better software and things like that. And, it just, you pay your dues, and then suddenly you have a successful podcast, and you just sit back and you just feel good about what you've done.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it was try to do it every single week, and that's what I've done except for one, and that mattered the most to me. And then I knew the other things would come along, and I still think I've got plenty of work to do, and it will never end as far as improving things. But yeah, I was definitely timid, and it took VR chat, actually all the meetups that I was trying to facilitate out there, to get my voice a little bit more and just realize that I have something to say, and it's a little bit unique, and I'm not a developer or anything like that, so I get to have this sort of perspective as far as my dreams about it and what I think about it. And I think a lot of enthusiasts share that, and so I like to try to be an intermediary between developers, enthusiasts, and really just anybody that's involved in this stuff. But yeah, just practice. You practice by doing, just like a lot of things. I think us tech folk, we figure out a lot of things on our own and do our research and are able to do that. So put the time and don't worry about being judged or is it not going to work. That's overthinking, and that really doesn't serve you. Even if you only did it for 10 or 20 episodes and gave up, you still would learn a ton from it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you can't, like you said, you can't give up, and you have to be determined. I've had my share of haters, and you know what? That's fine. Sure. I'm okay with that. If people don't like what I do. Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. It's a good sign because it means that they've listened to you, and that's all I really want to do is just be listened to. And if you don't like what I say or you disagree, fantastic. You're entitled to that opinion. I mean, this is all commentary. If I don't like what you say, Gunter, I will tell you, sir. But that's it, and it's all just to keep the fire kicking. And I don't make any money off of my podcast. I have had one-time sponsor, and that's it. But I'm not, I still have my day job, and I'm working 40, 50 hours a week there. And so to do all of the rest of this, I do it for the passion, and I just hope everybody realizes that.
Yeah, I think you make a good point about, you do it to be heard, and I think that most people want to be heard, right? This is quite a natural instinct, and so I really, that's what I want on my show, is for people to be heard. I like to do plenty of talking, but not really. My stuff's not quite as detailed and thought out as others, so that's why I like to bring some of you guys on and give that out, and let everybody be heard, even from the posts to the comments that I try to read out, or anybody in the audience that wants to be heard. Please make this a place that you can do that if that's something you want.
Awesome.
And then start your own thing.
That's right. Start your own. I encourage everyone to do one.
Yeah, we did, and I'd just like to say thank you, Kyle. You were certainly an inspiration to me in starting up a podcast, and yeah, I've been listening to you since I think you were in the teens. So you've definitely been a great help for all of us, with the content over time, and just thanks. So
we love you, Kyle.
Your podcast is great.
Can we hug you after the show?
Virtual hugs, yes.
I think we do it all at once, right? It's sort of like an orgy.
We need a thumb up.
Yes, it is. We will all sit on top of you.
Yeah, so one announcement I'd like to make about our podcast is that we're going to be having Gunter joining, and he's going to be joining on Monday at our next podcast.
Awesome. Nice. As much as as much as I love doing my own podcast, I super enjoy listening to everyone else's. I mean, you guys, Bob, when you did yours, it took me to work, and then all day I stopped myself from listening to any more of it, and then I listened to it on the way home. So I have 2 hours of commute, and you kept me occupied. I love that. That was great. Thank you.
Hey, question.
If you make somebody's commute better, then that's success.
Totally.
Hey,
we felt like we had to bring Gunter on board because it was we'd officially decided on the left-handed VR podcast, and then we thought, it's three left-handed people here. We're kind of dominating a particular opinion and mindset here, so we thought we'd bring in one right-handed person just to get their opinion from time to time on topics, So it's now going to be essentially left-handed podcast and Gunter, so we're going to probably think about the name a little bit.
I said I'll do everything left-handed. Maybe I'll put the mouse in my left hand, and But yeah, I'm really stoked about that. I was a big fan of the these Rev 3 shows, like Dignation and Totally Rad Show was a big love of mine, and so I really do like the idea of just casually chatting, hanging out. Don't have to do any prep because there is a good bit of putting on the production here, and couldn't even do it all myself. So yeah, I really appreciate being able to play along.
Yeah, and I think you're going to fit in great, because the reason I wanted to do this myself is I said a lot to people that I'm trying to emulate what I used to love. Back when I had a day job working in a bank, it was the most drudgery work, coming in at 9 o'clock and doing your 8 hours just typing at the computer in a cubicle wearing a suit like an absolute Dilbert episode. And I hated it, and there was nobody around to talk to, and it felt so monotonous. But I'd put on the Destructoid podcast, and I'd be listening to a bunch of people talking about using penis swords to attack each other, and I'd be in stitches laughing and looking all official in front, and had this going on in my head. And I thought, I want to have that level of sort of, you're with your friends talking absolute crap that you can bring with you. You can be on the bus, you can be at work, and you can just hear people talk about their first VR experience, or just talk about that stupid moment where something funny happened. And it's not a news thing for me, but I mean, there's going to be news and updates, whatever else, but for me, it's just about that level of, you and your friends having a chat that you don't need to worry about. You can bring it wherever you want, And you're full of stories, because we've done this before. We know you've got plenty of content, Gunter. It'd be great. So I can't wait to hear what you bring to the table.
That's what's nice. That's what's nice about the podcast community for VR right now is that each one of the podcasts is bringing something different. So it's not just the constant same information from each one. That would be silly. I know we've had a little bit of an overlap recently in guests, but we try not to. But Brian and Matt do their thing, and it's a unique conversation, just two guys, and then you guys are doing your little just buddies talking sort of thing. Chris Miranda with the Enter VR, he's got people going down the rabbit hole, and obviously Kent has that very Charlie Rose, as I've said, kind of feel, that very professional interview. And then I don't even know how to classify mine, but I like that it's there's content for any style you like. Whatever it is you like, there's content out there, and that's really cool.
Totally, when VR porn becomes a thing, I certainly want to start up a show based around that.
Oh yeah.
What do you mean start up? I was looking at VR porn just this morning.
Is it good? Because I'm still waiting for the quality and a little bit more.
You got to do it right. I'm gonna have to do a YouTube tutorial on how to view porn correctly on the Rift.
Yeah, if I had to take Kyle's advice, I'm going to end up probably having to make the porn matrix myself after he saw that little project I've been up, and his mind just went straight to porn.
Immediately went to porn. It's like, you could use this for boobies.
You guys might find this an interesting statistic about Janus VR, but I think there's like quadruple or 5 times the user base of the product is in it for that versus my more innocent, make it for worlds and talk to each other type of use case. Yeah.
Yep. I think I explored more of that than anything else, to be honest. And but there's not much, you can't really get that, everywhere else. So I think that's really cool that that's a thing there, that there's not the censorship and stuff.
I think it's cool that James is watching you view it.
There is sort of porn viewing plus stalking thing. Strange dynamics that never existed before on the internet happening. Since the multiplayer stuff.
Stealing cat McRae.
Yeah, oh my god, that's amazing. Actually, the other guy who's on the project, I call him the the VR GeoCities porn king or whatever of the web.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know. This would be probably better for next week, but yeah.
The voyeur genre is going to take up a lot. I bet you there's going to be a whole stream of player recordings that he's got in his computer, from first person of people watching porn, and it'll be sold as a separate product going, look through the eyes of all the people who've got in and looked at all the porn content.
No, so I've done things since then to further anonymize the content as it's thrown out, but the idea is an open platform with whatever implications that has. That's the official stance on it.
That YouTube tutorial, I think, will break the record for a number of views.
It might, yeah. How to view porn in VR. I can already see a list of wonderful meta, tags to put on the bottom of it, and million views.
Have you passed 69 videos yet? Just to get that cap on correctly.
I am at 160, something like that, videos. You have to remember that my channel.
Get to 169 then.
169, there you go.
Yeah, on that topic, I think Everyday VR, he did a video on YouTube about the porn thing, and that video got him 30,000 views, while on average he gets about 500 on the other ones. So
I never saw that till just the other day, but he did it months ago.
Great video.
Yeah.
You know what's weird about YouTube? I did a video of reactions from folks coming out of the E3 Oculus booth, and it wasn't getting much traction. I changed the thumbnail to the 2 chicks, and the one was kind of a cute nerd girl. She was really giddy too. I talked to her a little bit afterwards. And suddenly, boom, hits. I'm like, really? I'm just going to have to go change all of my thumbnails of all of my videos to just boobs, and I win.
That is the internet, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the state of the internet, indeed.
Gunter?
It's human nature, right? Yeah.
Guilty. It looks like Hitbox shit the bed. I'm not sure if we're recording. I'm gonna try to get in touch with Mike.
I've seen the video. I mean, the video is up, but nothing else is working. Like, you can kind of like shut it down.
And so we can't tell if the recording is happening. Gotcha.
Yeah.
If you could do that, it'd be great. And no matter what, we're still going to hang and chat and entertain the folks here.
Yep. Yeah. I'll be back in a sec.
Thanks.
I wonder, did you receive your email about the shipping?
I did receive an email. I do not have to update anything.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm good to go.
Did you pay via PayPal or did you use credit card?
I did not. I used a credit card, and that credit card, surprisingly, even though everybody else's has not expired, been stolen, been lost. It has money in it, so I'm good to go.
Did you notice the new checkbox
what's this I
which
hear?
says, will you verify the $350 that wasn't there before? Have you guys seen that?
No.
There's a checkbox at the bottom. It says, I authorize Oculus VR to, take $350 out of the credit card account. But anytime we try to submit it, check and submit, it just doesn't work. But Cyber Reality won on Oculus. He says, you don't have to check anything. You have to worry about it. But yeah, I was like,
I did
want to
anyway.
make sure this happens.
I have faith.
Yeah, so do I. They got my address, man. Why would I back out now?
That's right.
Yeah, I missed all of this. What's the... I read there was some hullabaloo about the difference between PayPal and credit card when you're buying on the Oculus side. What's all this about? Because I having not backed it myself, I've missed all of whatever this is about.
So there was an email that went out today, and Gunter and I haven't received it, but we have paid via PayPal. So, but everyone else that we've talked to here, who is paid by credit card, has received that email.
Yeah, it didn't work for everyone.
Via PayPal.
No,
because
PayPal you pay right away, but with credit card it was just a deposit, and you pay the remaining balance when the DK2 ships.
And they were having issues, like for me, my credit card got hacked or whatever, so they gave me a new one. If I try to enter my new one, after the email today, it said that the information was already there on their website, but it was wrong. So I had to pay through PayPal to make it work. And other people were having those issues.
Does that mean they are a bit early? I mean, at least DJ fixed everything a bit earlier than they expected. Like, I expected this kind of email like midweek of next week, and just receive it like today was a bit strange.
No, I think they fixed I think they fixed the SDK almost immediately after that Twitter. Who was that? Tom Forsyth, I think it was. Somebody
it was.
put on Twitter up a weird picture where it was all segmented. I think they fixed it almost immediately. So I don't think it was an issue for very long.
I was just trying to check my order information and whatnot, and it was supposed to email me, but I still haven't received that email, which normally when I've checked that, it's pretty instantaneous, so I'll keep monitoring that.
There was an email that went out in, I think, late June.
Look for the checkbox,
that had similar type of thing where it said, go check to make sure your information is correct. And so I did that already. I don't know if that was only for people who were PayPal backers or people who pay with credit cards as well.
Well, I guess the previous email was because they expected to ship like a week ago, I would say, maybe a few days ago. So I guess they sent an email again because the shipping got delayed, so they wanted everybody to be on the page again.
I want to break topic real quick. In Holotape, any word there? It's probably checking in. Something I can actually, we can point people to my stream, because this is the first time I actually am streaming my Rift perspective. I didn't make it really known. So we might have a backup. So that's pretty interesting that would happen. So yeah, that's definitely what I'd like to. Well, if you don't mind, Ruuubick, kind of putting that out in the chat, anyways, if people want to click over to there, that'd be cool. And then another thing that happened to me is in my RV here, I'm kind of positioned differently, and so I kind of spread my right leg out, and then I immediately pulled it back because I either thought I was going to hit Rev's foot or the table, and that was kind of strange.
I thought you were trying to play footsies with me. I was trying to figure out what was going on here.
In the future, we can play footsie in VR.
Oh yeah.
Feet haptics.
So does anybody want to take my spot here on the table? I'm going to have to go back. I'm knee deep into Teddy Bears versus Land Sharks 2, so I need to get back to my programming. Anybody want to take my spot? Anybody? Anyone? Bueller?
A piece of fruit, maybe?
Yeah.
Come on, Jason.
Yeah,
come on down.
Okay, I'll take his seat. I'll take over podcasts. I'll take over the world.
There you go. All right, off to my teddy bears.
Well, here, I'll sit in that seat, Jason. You can sit in mine.
I think I'll be okay. I'll let you have this one.
All right, cool. It is my birthday. It makes sense. Is it my birthday?
Oh,
yet?
we can try the...
Yeah, it's my birthday 30 minutes ago.
Right?
Yeah.
Crash the server.
Happy birthday.
This is not the server we wanted to crash.
Crashing the server?
We should do the birthday test again, you know? I felt honored that it was my...
But the other problem is Mike's not here to restart the servers, so...
Yeah. We can wait till the end.
Cool.
We'll send the show off with a happy birthday.
So we've been going, for 2 hours now? Now that I'm editing, I'm pretty much editing things a lot more raw, and they used to be an hour. They're probably going to come out 2 hours or something, so that's, I don't know the whole YouTube strategy, but that's just kind of what's going to work for me right now. And when we get an editor on, we'll see what makes sense for the future. But I think a lot of people like raw content. At least that's what I like.
Okay, so the Riftmax stream is really broken. I'm not able to post a message in this chat anymore. I don't know what happened.
Wait, you can't push images, but the chat's still working.
The stream is freezing for some reason. Sometimes you just get disconnected. It seems like it's the Hitbox server and not the channel.
Gotcha.
Any of you guys watch that one where I think his name's Kevin Pereira, and he meets with the guys at Oculus and tries out the headset, but he's like, I'm high on X or Y right away when he begins the interview?
Yeah, I know who he is, but I didn't hear that. I didn't see that.
Oh, no, he's got a couple of...
G4 guy.
Yeah, it might be. It's a while back. But I think it's an example of good editing, you know, where he condensed it really well, but it was exciting to watch. On the subject of editing.
I really enjoyed that. People were talking about, he's getting so much hate for that. I'm like, dude, it was entertaining from start to finish.
That guy was great.
You know, I was truly enjoying it. Yeah, do not get all the hate. Sure, you don't like that kind of thing, and if you find him a bit of a hipster, that's fine. But he's funny. He actually asked good, intelligent questions. It was well edited and produced. It looked like it was fun. I can't think of a single thing to fault from a viewership standpoint, unless you literally just have a thing against drugs. But the actual show itself is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm with you, dude. I mean, I don't do all this shit that he said, the peyote and the marijuana and all that stuff, but I'm totally on board.
I really want to talk to that guy. Yeah. He should be on my show, actually.
Is that the interview where Palmer Luckey sat on his lap?
Yes.
That's exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. That was a really good interview.
Oh, that was pretty funny, yeah.
So, yeah, to the point, Gunter, tight editing can be good in specific cases.
Oh, absolutely. And if anybody wants to be that tight editor, I love editing. I do actually love, I think it's a great vision. Exactly. Let's tighten this ship
Loose
up.
Loose editors need not apply.
And it is an art. It's an invisible art, but I will totally basically allow that person to pretty much do what they want. I could only imagine some troll now saying, hey, I want to be your editor, and then it's this crazy thing, but absolutely, for me, I definitely don't have the time. I'm hoping in the new lifestyle that I'm trying to create will allow me to do a hell of a lot more and totally keep evolving things. But for now, we just keep at it how I am, and we'll see how it goes. But it's already a bit of a production, and I'm going to need help to make it even better.
You might have to get a sidecar for your RV for the editor, you know?
I would totally, like, if you want to be an editor and you want to make it to California, let me know and I'll come pick you up on the way. And truly, when I make my journey out there, I will certainly be opening up to folks and friends that like, yeah, I'll hang out with you and join you on the ride out there.
And you'll have
Dude, we need to fund a Kickstarter for Gunter. We need to have the virtually incorrect party bus, you know? We need to be driving around the country just picking people up.
That's truly what I want to do.
You totally got a spray paint on the side of your RV. That would be amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I want to part. I kind of, like, one of my dreams in all this sort of thing, I love, you know, of course, arcade, like we all do, but, like, Flynn's arcade from Tron and just how cool that stuff was. I just want to see coolness and things like that going on, and I think traveling around and trying to meet up and party, that's what I'm about. And, like, those Kite and Lightning folks, like, stuff they were doing in Deep Rifter was telling me all about the partying, and it's just... I'm still young, or, you know, I still want to party a lot in my life.
You remind me of a guy, like, who's on his way to, like, Burning Man or something like that, you know?
I'm totally that guy, except that I live in South Florida with a bunch of old people, and there's nothing cool like that, and so I just look at it on the internet and wish, you know, that I was there, and then if I was, people would probably really, you know, enjoy my company, and I would enjoy theirs. And maybe I will be now that I'm going out that way.
Yeah, now that you have an RV, you plan on going to Burning Man?
I do, but there's so much to do. VR's first, of course.
Gunter,
VR to Burning Man.
Hitbox is up and down, but I've confirmed with Mike that we're still recording.
Awesome. And if somebody could put in the Hitbox stream that I'm streaming at twitch.tv/Gunter444.
I'm really still trying to just kind of...
Yeah, and I hope my stream is working. I tested it before, so hopefully it's all good, but I don't put a lot of effort into that stuff on the Twitch, my Twitch account, because it's just not where it's at right now. But maybe it'll be cool to have this sort of perspective. In the beginning, we definitely didn't want like my personal stream to cannibalize the mainstream, but I didn't think that was really going to be a case right now, and I think it could add. I just got to kind of think about it.
I don't know where my mouth is.
A little lower.
It's in your forehead.
A little lower.
Okay.
Almost.
It's in your eye now.
Yeah, it's in your ear.
He just dumped all your soda on you, man.
The struggle is real.
Almost there.
Looks like some kind of autoerotic soda or something. It's wiggling a lot.
There's magnetism. Whoa.
Oh, you just got...
There's a magician.
Cables.
Oh god, that looks like a Fez hat when you did that.
You know, that is funny, like cables suspending this in the air, or, you know, some other crazy things happening, and you want to explain it like real life, but like, dude, it's VR, like, you could just do anything, but where our minds almost can't get the infinite, so we want to collapse it down into something that's more familiar.
Happy birthday, it's my birthday hat.
Oh man, birthday hats would be sweet.
Yeah.
I'd wear one.
Yep. And like, it's a totally great thing, so whoever has a birthday could utilize this feature, right?
I can
birthday
do magic
parties
trick.
in Riftmax. And with magic people.
Ready?
Clowns.
Vas-y.
How are you doing that? With magic?
It is black magic.
Yeah, no, before it transformed into, it changed scale, which was odd.
Huh.
So that was the break. The commercial moment is finished.
Rather than a Terrence McKenna DMT experience, we've got Olivier trying to drink a soda pop and having a seizure.
Yeah, you know, it's 6:30, so...
Man, I want to do the DMT experience so bad.
I can tell by the background of your show here.
Oh yeah, that's Roger's artwork, and you know, I met him on the Minecraft server, and he's just got a portfolio of psychedelic artwork that blew my mind. And he's been on the show, and just he's done a lot of these things, and has basically sort of Burning Man crew in Melbourne area, or just, that type of folk, and just so jealous of all the cool stuff that I'm not participating in over there. But for real, being able to connect with people this way is huge for me. Like, I'm limited by my area, and then I work from home. I just totally don't get myself out that much, and of course I just have my core group of friends, which don't have not all the same interest, including that and this VR stuff.
My favorite Gunter quote of all time is, like, we've had a load of these huge, long debates about the philosophy of VR and the psychology of it and stuff, but there's one stage, like, I hadn't talked to him in a couple of days, and apropos of nothing, I check my Skype, and it's just like a one-line message, and it just says, dude, it's like if we words sent across the internet is like we have telekinesis through technology. Yeah, telepathy through technology. And that's like just one line in Skype with no other preamble, no other explanation. I just thought, that's fantastic. Yep. I wish I'd been there to kind of catch that and have a huge conversation, but I arrived, I wake up at, so odd hour, 4 in the morning, and I check that, and I'm like, oh, I do not have the energy to have this conversation.
I don't think I did either. I think I just want to say one thing, and then you do all the work. Like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, totally. And that's all I would say is totally. But yeah, that was about, like, just VR expanding our ability to have telepathy, and that we already do have telepathy, and that it's basically the transference of your inner idea to another person. And, Terrence is really where a lot of my ideas come from. Love that guy, and just consumed so much of his ideas, and then had my own. But anyways, he would talk about, telepathy travels on basically through mouth utterances and sound waves, and at this point, it's sound waves that hit microphones, go through the internet, and it's just super magical, and to your ear, and then decoded, and so that is telepathy. And I see VR as being the thing that can really help us evolve our language, our communication, and hopefully be able to see what each other's mean, so that our telepathy is actually visible, and it's you can't mistake in it so easily with this having, just because your inner dictionary is different. If you can get to the point where these dictionaries, like a Babel fish, that can completely help you communicate to somebody else's internal dictionary, and specifically I think in the visual form, because I think that's the form that we hold and covet most as far as the human experience goes, then I think there'll be less interpretations and just everybody crying about everybody else's words. That really comes down to just people don't understand that people aren't really they're not just their words. It's much more complicated going. It really takes a process to even get to know yourself and to get that stuff out. So for me, VR and communication and being able to advance our world is a huge part of what I see.
I think VR is a step in that direction, that it can provide additional sensory inputs, but there's still a divide fundamentally between that and a mental concept or an understanding of something.
Sure. I think for me, one of the, like, trying to simplify it, and I was talking to Jason about, sort of building something like this, is in a simple form. It's when I'm describing something about maybe a vacation to Burning Man, and as I'm doing it right now, the whole room would change to Burning Man. Maybe popping out of my mouth are objects and things that go with it, and it's all happening automatically because either I've taught it or Google backed magic or whatever it would be. But the idea is that the place you are, everything becomes visible, and it's we're not going to be there anytime soon. But yeah, how do you get your construct to get out there? I mean, that is going to be the secret. But I feel like we're going to be able to dive into our inner space, and Terrence was a psychonaut with these, with LSD and ayahuasca, and it just breaks down barriers and allows you to kind of get in touch with your inner side. Of course, I've never done all these things, but I've done LSD and other things that did give me that experience. Losing the train. Yep.
The RV.
That train's over.
The train of thought.
Yeah, I always picture the Alice in Wonderland, the caterpillar. That idea of this sort of figure standing there, and you just see, who are you, and like the words forming in the air around you, and the world morphing and changing, and kind of giving that contextual information that sort of, as things are being described, the smoke forms into trees and images to imply a more visceral sense of what's going on, and removes all of ambiguity about what the topics actually are.
And a movie movie is like that. Somebody's ideas, they take years to pull that idea out into a movie, and then you get to suck it in, and it's sad, but hopefully we can get those sort of things for anybody to do and just plop them out there, pop your interior, your dreams just out there, and then not only do other people see it, but you might see your own inner stuff and be like, whoa, I just met myself. This blows my mind, or something weird like that.
Well, even taking something simple like...
Go ahead.
I was saying, even take something simple like when there's a prevalence of popularity regarding word clouds about 5-6 years ago, where every website had a word cloud on it, and it had that sort of bubbles that represented the most frequently said or used words. And I've seen a few on particular people's websites that I knew, and it's fascinating like that, like you said, sort of encapsulating yourself in your own content. When you see your most frequently used words and topics in variously sized bubbles that indicate, your mindset or your particular, the way you phrase and think, it was fascinating. It's something you can't get just from listening to your own content, and that idea of contextualizing what you say and what you do in a new way that sort of lets you hear yourself through the lens of this other amazingness that sort of really lets you rethink what you say and what you do and what it kind of translates to in the real world is just fascinating, and I'd love to see VR just capitalize on that.
I see it as an expansion of a communicable message. With words, we have syntax and the semantics of the language. The cat is jumping. It has a very literal meaning. But, like you said you want to describe some story of Burning Man, but there's all this shit going on in the background, and you want to communicate that too. It's not really part of the main message, but it really adds to the experience. So it's like the richness of the communication.
For sure. We're going to have a lot of tools.
One thing I said to Gunter in the past is I'm well known for being a little bit too verbose, or I'll use words which I don't really need to. I could convey the same message using simpler ones, but and it always comes across as being very elitist and trying to be sort of above other people. But it's just simply that I love words and I love the use of them, and when I find a word that more particularly identifies a mood or a point and it exists, then I use that instead of sort of glomming together 3 or 4 to match it. But I love this idea of this VR space where your words are quote unquote translated into a visual medium that takes away all ambiguity. So I could use whatever the hell words I like, and it'll translate to, tangible conceptual concepts that transcend whatever wording or phrasing people choose to use. So you could be talking in the most dull, simplistic language in the world, the most flowery language in the world. It doesn't matter. Both people can communicate using the visual information and not feel like one is either talking down to the other or one is trying to or not understand each other's wording. It's an interesting idea.
So you're talking about a richness of expression, syntactic expression, sort of expression by language, and then an interpretation that means something more than what's intended. Is that right?
Well, it's really about meaning. It's about transferring meaning, and so the words don't matter. If you're able to transfer the meaning with, few words, then that you've mission accomplished. But you could probably do that with a whole bunch of words. But is that really helpful? And really, if it's visual, then again, the words start to shed, and then you see it. And I think people can just like in VR, you can't explain it, but when you see it, you're like, oh, I get it.
What he was alluding to, though, was providing some set of words that would provide an experience or something that was more than them.
Well, I mean, take into account people talk in their own spheres with their own kind of group. So picture you've got 2 people saying virtually the same thing. You've got one person saying, man, I'm terrible at using guitars, it's not my thing. And then another person would go, personally, playing guitar, it's not my milieu, and you've got both people saying virtually the same thing, but the barrier to that is insane. Yeah, those 2 conversations aren't going to merge. You can't express that. So having that intermediary where the core concept and thought you're trying to express is extrapolated, and it is expressed visually in a medium both people can understand, and it's also more visceral because it's contextually relevant to the person you're talking to. Like when one person says milieu, they could be seeing in their mind this sort of that sense of being unable to portray it in this orchestral sense, and then the other person could say, say, dude, it's not my style, they could see the same message contextually relevant to them in this sense of them like hanging out in a bar and it's not, and they're failing at it or something. So it's the same message, but the visual representation on both parts more closely equates to what they would express, what the other person's intended expression would be in their portrayed language, if that makes any sense at all.
That makes absolute sense. No, because I've actually, not to plug Janus VR, but it's the same story, but it's HTML and 2D pages and alternate interpretations and visualizations of messages. So it's exactly the same subject. So I find it very interesting. And something that I'm working on.
My favorite. Yeah, and I can't wait to I would like to see a virtually incorrect space over there, and a lot of ideas. Talk with Nuke all the time, and he's always talking about Janus and whatnot. And so, yeah, I'm gonna be there soon. It's just all the time and trying everything.
No accusations. I'm not looking for praise, man. I want to talk about the issue. Screw it. I'm just saying that as a background.
Well, I haven't tried it enough to really get into all that. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries, man. But, yeah, but you're treating it the other way, where there's a core content, there is a message, but each viewer has their own custom graphical interpretation of the message, right?
Yeah, an effort to transfer, to get the meaning the same, so there's no confusion there. It's really breaking down those barriers of time, too. Like, sometimes you got to take in those words and translate them. It takes time, but if you could see something, then you might just get it instantly, and you could keep that faster pace going. And I think one place you can see that this would be super beneficial is translating through languages, right? We that would be huge, but sometimes the translation goes wrong. We get lost in it, so maybe if there was a lot more visual stuff going around, it'd be like, oh, I really totally know what you're getting.
And speaking of translation, there's like another type of translation that makes me sad, and that's badly phrased, but we're always speaking about worldwide communication and such, but today, besides Google Traduction, there's like no tool for people to translate correctly a message or phrase or anything. And I'm just wondering why it hasn't happened yet. I mean, you're not able to speak to somebody else from another country if you don't speak the language of the country or English at all. And I'm here because I'm able to speak English, obviously, but I wish some people would be able to speak French at the same time, using tools and such. And we are in 2014, and we have plenty of technology and plenty of people working on it. And it seems like translations when it comes to a language to another has not moved like an inch from 100 years.
Yeah, it's a huge barrier because it takes you pretty much, I mean, a lot of times you need to grow up in a society and learn the language, and that's how it's captured. And so you can't always, do that, and especially if you're American, you're just too lazy to do it.
That reminds me of one of my most amazing stories I ever heard. A friend told me this, and it really made me stop and think about language and communication and the whole kind of concept in one spectrum. He basically said he was on a plane. Excuse me. He was on a plane, and across from him there was a mother and daughter, and they were French. And they were just, chatting away in French, and that's fine. And then on the other side, there was a son and a father, and they were German. And they were chatting away in German, whatever else. But what was really fascinating is the both families had some family member who was deaf. So they both knew sign language. But only the children knew sign language, the parents didn't. So what you were seeing was these two people from different countries, and the father was talking to the son, who was about 6, who was using sign language to talk to the daughter, who was French, who didn't know any other language, who was then relaying that to her mother, who was then having the conversation back and forth. So these two small children, 6 years old, were being translators between two completely disparate countries, using this homogeny of sign language in this complete completely abstract setting with just two kids being able to play with each other, have a chat, completely regardless of context or anything else. And it was just such an amazing idea to me that I think sign language really is something that the world should pick up, because it's so homogenous and doesn't require any sort of bias in one language or another, and anybody can learn it. Like I gave it a go myself, and I'm modicum, I'm okay with it. And even VR, picture VR completely once we have hand tracking, completely devoid of syntax of trying to learn languages. You can have full, powerful conversations using just hand gestures, and I think that's mind-blowing.
And we've seen it in the Control VR trailer for the Kickstarter, I think, or one of the videos. They were able to get two people speaking with the sign language and actually like understand each other. So if we get to pick up on sign language, we will be able to use it in VR effectively.
Is sign language universal, or are there multiple different types of sign language? Because I know in here we have American Sign Language, but I don't know about other countries.
It is that there is a few. I mean, I'm by no means an expert, but there's my understanding there's 3 or 4 different sort of dialects of sorts. But the important thing about sign language is it is an incomplete language. It is a language that doesn't actually have like full notation for every word ever. It is a contextual language in that new things are added depending on society and global consciousness. Like, for example, a very good example is Nixon in sign language is, the air quotation marks. It is a universal signed indicated person. Similarly with dog in sign language is you tap your right hip twice and click your fingers as if you're calling a dog forward. Or cat is you draw 2 whiskers on yourself. These are things which are completely devoid of most language barriers or most issues regarding cultural representations of things. It is social media builds sign language. So while there are alternate ways to portray information, for the most part it is universal, and people who could speak one can speak the others. Or even if you don't speak it, if you sensibly enough have a vague understanding of how it works, you can mostly establish and understand what people are going for.
Interesting.
And again, just not to harp on about this, but the language itself is entirely built around, it suits the programmer mind as well. I personally love sign language as a concept because it is, like, for example, pretty in sign language is so amazing to me. It is, you make a P with your hand and then you rotate around your face. A P for pretty and then point to the face. And similarly, chair, you make a C with your hand and then you use your other hand to sit in the C in your hand. It is this things which are
plays on our pattern recognition. Like, these are patterns we see in our world and that we experience, and that's why we're communicating that way. Whereas words and language, this is a bit removed. Like, there's no natural thing that I see in those letter. I mean, if you talk about hieroglyphics, you start getting back to that place. But I'm very interested in seeing, this visual sort of language, however it's going to be. And sign language is a great, example.
Yeah. But I kind of wish, like, I would say Americans in general, but I wish other people from other countries knew how to speak other language to hear, multiple language at the same time, because we're going to hear mainly English for the rest of our lives, unless we come up with a new formal language. But I wish I could hear someone trying to speak Spanish, German, or French for any other language but English. I don't mind speaking English at all. I just wish VR could be the place where you could train your other languages with other people from around the country.
Nihongo desu. Je parle français un peu.
That is perfect.
J'ai oublié français.
Nice.
Moi aussi.
One of my French teachers used to say to me, I only had French for 1 year in high school, and I think I cheated a lot, but my French teacher would say, fermez la bouche. What does that mean?
Shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth. Shut your fucking face.
Well, I'm not sure she said that, but...
Shut the hell up. That's how I interpret it, see? It was with the...
she was being rude,
facial...
though, for sure.
Yeah, she made sure to teach us that. We told it to her, I think, plenty of times, too.
Probably got the bad end of the ruler and all that too, right? I don't know.
But with VR, we just get rid of a lot of tools we created on the internet, because this is like a lot of websites where you can just chat with other people from other countries and even have Skype chats with them. But now in VR, you just literally create a room where you say, want to train my Spanish, and this Spanish people just we enter the room and you can speak with them.
Yeah, they'll be happy to, for sure.
So I think yeah.
But did you notice, Ruuubick, how hard it is to get the French people into VR? Everything is in English, and the French community is pretty stuck to its own little area, which is actually not so much in terms of equivalent to VR chat or Riftmax. I keep trying to invite them to come, but it's lonely.
The French community is one of the worst when it comes to English, because I mean, for some reason we are bad. I'm pretty sure that it comes to I won't say biological, but I mean it's hard for our mouth to pronounce most of the sounds correctly. So I guess it's one of
what are you talking about? It's not that difficult.
We are supposed to do it.
Yes, it can be very worse.
But it's funny, but it's like most of the people in France talk English like this. I mean, there's like no other way for them to do it, and it's easy for them to do it. But we are translating, like I've said probably a few times, we are translating everything. We don't hear anything in English. I've been to Norway, and there's like no translation. I always hear everything in English. There's like no subtitles. They read books in English, so it's a bilingual country. But in France, I'm sure there will be nobody in this community besides me, Olivier, Antoine. Yes, I mean, the French community base is going to be one of the smallest in VR, because if everything keeps being in English, people won't come from themselves. I mean, I've asked Jesse and Graham, propose them if we could like make translation in some language for VR chat, and I will do the same for Riftmax if it's needed, like to bring people who don't speak English or are not able to in VR, because for now it's kind of restricted to people who are able to talk English in some ways, and it's kind of, we have to be more friendly with people who don't have these opportunities in this sense.
I will support you, Ruuubick, and I will speak with a French accent, okay?
That is okay.
Hey, so I am going to...
I'm xenophobic here, guys. I might have to start speaking Irish just to make myself feel better.
I'm going to put a little bow on this and wrap the formal part of it up, but we're still going to hang out and stream and chat. But I do know some people are dropping off, probably getting a little long for them.
Could we, Olivier, would you mind, do you want to have a seat or something?
Yeah, we get the...
I'd like to record,
we want to record
just
I'll take the same one, so there's a continuity.
He seduced me into that.
And James, please have a seat here. Bob's not with us, so we have somebody, and please.
Hey, I can be the sneak peek at next week, you know?
Absolutely. Holotape, what were you saying?
It's good you're sitting here too, because I want to go on a bit of a rant about my opinions on something about Janice later. So you're in closer proximity now.
Straight down.
Dr. Beta threw his popcorn at me.
Oh, rude.
Dr. Beta.
The floor is a mess.
All right, so I'm gonna do the wrap up. But Holo, did you have any other things I might have missed?
Nope. I was just going to say, let's just do a clean wrap up, and then editing won't be as much of a nightmare for you.
Yep. Exactly. So we We had a cool show here. We talked about what's happened this year and our thoughts. We have a great big VR family here, and it's just been a ton of fun. So if you like this sort of thing, keep checking it out. If you want to be a part of it, come in here in the studio audience, or if you want to be a guest, hit me up on Reddit, Gunter444. And as we've been talking about, could use an editor, wink, wink. And that about wraps things up, and I will see you next time on Virtually Incorrect. It has been a huge pleasure being your host tonight. Thank you to all my audience members, all my guests, the Virtually Incorrect team, Riftmax, for just being so cool, so awesome, and allowing for this thing to exist. And that's it, folks. Keep up what you're doing, keep on riding the wonderful, and good night, everybody. Oh, and stay tuned next week. James McCrae's going to be on the show. Boom.